Yeah, hi. Welcome to my third video. This is going to be the first video in English language, just to appeal to a broader audience. And I'm here on leadchess.com under my infamous nickname Funny Fighter. And today I'm looking to play some Rapid. Um, I would say just one game of Rapid should be enough for one video. And yeah, I think English comes a little bit more natural to me, uh, speaking to you guys, because English is a much more easy language for chess, I would say, in terms of expressing what you want. Um, German does have the tendency to be a little bit more complex. So I'm actually quite glad that I can do a couple of videos in English, or maybe even the majority of videos. Let's see how the resonance is and what people think of it. So yeah, I'm here in the lobby on leadchess.com. Let's go on to quick game and let's look for a rapid type of game. Um, well, I still consider 15-15 a rapid game. I mean, it says classical, but honestly, on classical you have like 10 times as much time. So I will just go ahead and click that, and let's see what we get. And with white, I will likely play d4 because I've been booking up on the King's Indian, which of course goes d4, knight f6, c4, d6, knight c3, and then g6, so trying to fianchetto the bishop. And okay, nobody quickly responding to the classical request. Let's see on the lobby if there's anything. If I'm black, my repertoire is a bit more diverse. Okay, and I'm black again. Like on the first video I uploaded here on YouTube. Um, where basically I spoke in German all the time. Okay, he's white and he takes a lot of time, which is usual for um, for rapid games. But he goes e4, and I think I will play the French defense with e6. I've kind of reading a little bit on the French defense, but not so much. I've seen, for example, the winner variation with e4 and then here pawn to e6 and after d4, d5. White doesn't go into the Tarrasch variation, which would be knight d2, but rather this knight c3 and then straight into bishop b5. But instead, he goes for the boring old king's knight variation with knight to f3, and I think after d5 he will exchange the pawn on d5, so just to quickly show that if I would go d5, he would exchange the pawns and then possibly play d4, with the idea of bringing the bishop out and then castling short. So that would be like one of the ideas for white, but I think this is a little bit on the boring side, so I'm going to spice it up with c6, just trying to get this Slav slash Caro-Kann structure. In the Caro-Kann, of course, you play c6 first rather than e6, and then go for d5. And here we kind of go artificially into the Caro-Kann by playing e6 first and then c6. And now he goes into kind of an Italian structure with this bishop c4, which is not targeting too much because my pawns are defended. So what's this guy name actually? Alkin Mr. 120, 1224. Doesn't ring a bell. I don't think I've played against him, as it's shown here. This would always show our match score, and no results so far. So indeed he goes for the Italian setup. Let me just think what I will play against him. I think d5 is very natural, just to hit his bishop, but can I play something more fancy than d5? Um, I'm thinking about maybe a5, yeah, just with the idea of d5 and then exchanging on d5, he goes back with the bishop, I play a4 trapping the bishop. So that would be kind of obvious. Actually, let's try it out. Let's play a5 here. And I should play a little bit faster, not just because I'm getting down on time, but also because I don't want to make this YouTube videos crazy long. I know it's a 15-minute game, but it's just so that I have more time to explain my ideas, and then you guys can comment on what you think and if I fit the right strategy and stuff. So this is why I don't play blitz games. It's just if I have to talk and think at the same time. It's not usually my chess which is bad, but the language just comes out as complete gibberish, so that's not great. He goes for c3, so this is kind of a Ponziani setup in the Italian variation, yeah? So you put your bishop out first and then you play c3. So then when you play d4, and usually there's a pawn here in this Ponziani setup, after black exchanges on e4, on d4 I mean, white gets quite a strong center with counterplay like c5 for black, so it's like double-edged. But so this move c3 is a rare visitor. I think I would just go straight into d5 now, kind of not caring about the bishop now having a flight square here on c2. So of course after I take back now on d5, if he goes to b3 now and I push the pawn, he has the c2 flight square for the bishop, yeah, as shown, or as it's on the board. So let's see. I don't think his setup is perfect though. I mean, his bishop won't do much for long, I think. And actually there's a check, right? There's a queen e7 check. I mean, he doesn't have a brilliant square to protect that check. Yeah, this looks tasting. So this looks tasty. So queen e7 check, kind of asking the question to the king, where are you going? He can either go to f1, which would still be small success, you know, he won't castle anymore, or he will play queen e2, but then I just take queens, and he will take back with the king, and now he can't castle anyway. So I think that was at least a small success. So let's try to make him a bit weaker on the light square. So now I'm thinking about b6 here, this move, just to get out the light square bishop and just to attack his king on this long a6 f1 diagonal. I don't see a good reason why that wouldn't be a good move. So if d6 here, then I guess normal development with knight f6 and knight to e4, since the knight can't be captured. And also at some point a4 would look good, just to gain space. No, so I think b6 is fine. So I have many strategies to back that move up. It's kind of an open strategy game, everything can happen. And he plays rook to e1. Okay, that makes sense, because of course he wants to castle like artificially right now, so he wants to place his king back on f1 and then he would get a rook out with check. So probably bishop e7 just to block the check. Yeah, bishop e7 looks good. I mean, bishop e6 was also a possibility here, but I don't want to commit my light square bishop so early, since his light square bishop is weak already, and this is the counterpart of his light square bishop. So I'd rather get my dark square bishop into play, you know, knight f6, castling, and stuff like that. And I just have to take care that the bishop is protected while I castle. But if I get castling in, if the bishop is protected, for example, by rook a7, then this bishop is much stronger than the light square bishop, and I don't really have to move the light square bishop here right now. So this is kind of my logic. He goes for d4. Okay, so I guess knight f6 here, just development. And I guess he was playing king f1, just like I talked about. So just unleashing this rook on this bishop, so disallowing me to castle for just a move, so making me waste a move. He hasn't done that. Instead he played bishop g5, pinning the knight. But now I can castle, right? Well, I can also kick the bishop. Actually, yeah, I think I will kick it one time. I could also kick it two times. You know, h6 here attacks the bishop. So if the bishop goes back to h4, then I could also play g5, attacking it again. But I think just one time kicking it would be good. And he exchanges the dark square bishop. That's so weird. I mean, that's just okay. He gets a check in now after I take. So he took on f6. I will take on f6. I think with the bishop. Now these structural damaged pawns would look too ugly after gf. So okay, so first of all I have to take this bishop. Yeah, but now he gets a check. But I don't know if that's so brilliant. I mean, I block with my light square bishop. What's the big deal here? I don't see it. I mean, I have the bishop here. He just gave up his bishop. I got h6 in, which, sorry, I got h6 in, which also disallows a knight for future endeavors here on the g5 square. And now the only square he can bring out his knight, yeah, is knight b to d2, and I think I can castle here. And I have the bishop pair, and no worries. So okay, so he commits to c4. Okay, so let's have a look at this. I mean, the pawn is protected twice, yeah, and attacked twice because the pawn's is attacking it and the bishop's attacking it. But let's play. Yeah, but so let's play a4 so that if the bishop moves, we just take twice here on c4. That would win a pawn. Instead, he takes on. Okay, I didn't see that move. Let's think. So if I take with the bishop, then he's fine, right? He takes back with the bishop, and then after like cd, he has things like b3 just attacking this pawn, right? Or even knight to e5. So I take, he takes, I take, and then knight to e5 would look pretty good for white. So let's not take this pawn with the bishop. If we take with the pawn, what happens then? Well, if I take with the pawn, this pawn is still protected by the bishop. So I will play here this c-pawn takes on d5, and his bishop is still attacked. And it must retreat. Or does it? I was thinking about rook takes, but no, then just pawn takes and I'm fine. No, so I think pawn takes is the move here. So this guy hasn't been playing perfect moves until now, definitely not. And I reckon he will play bishop c2 because on bishop d1, just to show that there would be disconnecting of the rooks because on the squares used. Yeah, so bishop c2. And now I will go very cheeky and just play a quick, we'll play a quick a3 here. Because if he takes, he has massive structural issues. And if he goes for b3, then, well, he also has structural issues, but even worse, his dark square diagonal is opened up. So, you know, chess games, especially the ones over blitz time controls, are like 90% strategy and only like 5% or 10% tactics. So, I mean, the percentages in order to win a game. So, by playing this move a3, this is not a tactical move. You know, I'm not threatening any pieces or such. I'm just weakening his structure. So now he has to play b3. So if I turn the board around, you can see that black has a nice spatial advantages. You know, nice opened up dark square bishop. And white struggles even to develop this knight, you know. You can see that here the c4 and the e4 square are kind of dominated by one pawn, which is perfect. So you want to control as most squares as possible with as few pieces as possible. So if I flip this back around and kind of turn the green arrows off, so now I can definitely play a lot of things. So with such a huge spatial advantage, there should be things like knight a6 at the very least, just to go to b5. Yeah, so let's play knight a6 here. Okay, now he puts his knight on e5. Okay, I kind of didn't pay as much attention to that as I should have. So knight e5, well, it kind of hits thin air, yeah, so this is a kind of a zero move, yeah. Doesn't really do anything. But at the same time, it's still a nuisance just to have the knight here. To get rid of it, I have to go back to to c6 eventually, just to trade it off, maybe back it up by a rook. That would be a good idea. But knight b4 is what I wanted to play anyway, so knight b4 here. Because now this gives me the option of trading off the knight if I want to. So if he does nothing, I don't know, then I go back here to c6, and he probably has to take this knight, yeah? Of course I have to back it up first by like rook a to c8 or something like this, but also rook f to c8 doesn't really matter because this pawn can't be taken anyway, so I can even use the a rook. But then after his knight would move, I have huge pressure on this e4 pawn, so that's kind of why this knight is not so strong on e5 as you might think. Right, so he goes back with the bishop. I can go for tactics here, so I can take the knight on e5, and if he takes, I can hop in with my knight, right? Or not, because he takes with the pawn. So bishop takes knight on e5. Well, I don't want to really give up the bishop pair, but let's see if it works tactically. So he would probably take with the pawn, because then on knight d3 he can just go back with the rook attacking the knight, yeah. But if he takes with the no, sorry. So I was thinking bishop takes knight, pawn takes, and here on knight to e3 he can just move out with the rook attacking the knight. And then my knight, well, my knight could go to b2 then. No, but then after bishop to e2 the knight would be dominated on the light squares. So no, that's not good. So maybe not taking the knight then. Okay, let's think. Well, of course, bishop takes knight is not forced. Yeah, I would just grab the c-file. I mean, this is a nice positional trump card to have. I could have taken the other rook, but maybe I want to play f5, f4, f3 at some point in this game. So, as I said earlier, this pawn is it's kind of not attackable. I mean, if he goes back with the knight, I can always go back with the rook. So this is kind of a riskless advantage to have the c-file, and then the other rook I can either use to double here on the c-file, or I can move my bishop, possibly even take the knight on e5 and then go for f5, f4. So that would be the plans. So he moves his other knight. Okay, makes sense. So he definitely wants to move his bishop and double the rooks at the center. Also, you know, this is a more active piece in f3, so I like this move. I don't see any threats that I can impose on him. Of course, with rook a to c8, I already kind of gave away that you know, that I don't really have anything to play for other than positional stuff. But so let's try to create something. I mean, my earlier plan was just to move the bishop back and then go for like f6, just to threaten the knight. But then the knight, so if I go back with the bishop, he does nothing. I don't know. So just to put in a token move here with king to g1, then I go pawn to f6, yeah. But then he has knight to g6, and after I move my king to h7, he would take the rook. So I think I will possibly counteract this plan with king to h7 here, just so that I can move my bishop back and play f6. So that should be a good option. I still have the bishop pair. I mean, on pawns we're equal. You know, both sides have 6 pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for white, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for black. But black is clearly much better in this position because I have the bishop pair and my pawns just enjoy so much more space. So I don't know how I kill him yet, but if I manage to remove this knight, or if I ever manage to remove these 2 knights and I get a knight in here on d3, then it might even be over for white already, because his rook is attacked, and this is just a monster knight, and this is such a flexible knight which can go everywhere. So he goes for h4. You know, at this point I kind of want to double up on the c file. So earlier I said I have no threats, but now that I think of it, that would be a threat, right? So if I just play rook to c3, and then here rook from, you know, from f to c8, so I have two rooks here. That's kind of like a battery ram, just to play for c1, yeah. So in the meantime, he might go bishop e2 though, just to control this c1 square 2 times. If he doesn't do it, I just go rook to c1 on whatever move he plays. I exchange one pair of rooks, and then I go in with the knight. No, sorry, here, I mean, then I take on a2. So okay, I mean, I like it. So yeah, so let's play this move, rook c3. And he kind of plays fast, which is good. So at least then I can talk and explain my moves, and we don't have to wait for him to move forever. But now he's thinking, I don't know what he's thinking about. Well, he might think about just trading off the rook, you know, just this. I mean, a move like rook to e3 would kind of force a rook trade, but no, he doesn't do it. He goes for g4, and now I think I will definitely double rooks. This looks pretty horrible for white now. I mean, with all these trump cards, both of these pawns are weak. I mean, they are just attacked. I don't know why he played it. Maybe his idea was to play g5, but it's just too slow. I just take the pawn, he takes the pawn, I go back with the bishop. Okay, so yeah, he takes. Yeah, so let's go back with the bishop here. I don't really want to give up my bishop pair, so just a quick bishop e7. Oh, actually, you know, I think he might take on f7 now. Shit. Yeah, I think he might play knight takes f7 because the rook is on both bishops actually. Okay, he didn't do it. No, that was a blunder. He could have definitely taken on f2 here. So no, that was not the way to go. Yeah, maybe just king back just to defend this pawn. No, you know, sorry, that was obviously crap. You know, he could have just taken the pawn. And if I take back with my bishop, he just takes my other bishop, so that would have equalized instantly. Now black is back to being much better. Actually, now that I'm talking, I think I might upload another video in Spanish, because I can speak 3 languages, German, English, and Spanish. And yeah, why not would train my Spanish also, and would reach an even broader audience. So yeah, maybe next video on Spanish. In Spanish. See if people like it. Goes for g6. That's a pretty strong move, I think. I think that was the correct move, because now if I dislodge my f-pawn, he again has these knight discoveries here, and he's on both of my bishops. So f6, he goes, well, okay, not to d3, forget that, but I mean f6. Well, he can even play knight to f7, right? So if I take with the light square bishop, he might take the other bishop. Or he takes with check, but then I go king takes f7 and my dark square bishop is protected. Actually, now that I think of it, in this special case, usually this would be positional murder, just to dislodge your f-pawn and have 2 bishops hanging here. But on this special case, because he doesn't have good knight discoveries, I can actually afford f6. So I go f6, he doesn't have any good moves on this chessboard, which would threaten anything, because I can just take the knight, take the knight, take the knight. These 3 squares are nicely defended, these 4 squares I mean. And if he goes, you know, for the throat, if he goes for the all-out attack here on f7, yeah, he gets at least 1 bishop, so I take back with the bishop, and then he can kind of choose which bishop he wants to take. But if he takes the light square bishop, I take back with the king, protecting this bishop, and if he takes the other bishop, I just take his pawn. So I would say that f6 is probably good enough here to hold. That's my logic. And I should hurry up a little bit because I'm below 6 minutes. And that's kind of silly. Okay, he has much better time management than me, but maybe he should have used more time at least. I mean, he's more times at times, so to speak, because he's kind of moving instantly on every move, which is not advisable at this time format. You know, you don't want to win on time in this time format because I mean there's just so much of it. So why would you try to win here just by blitzing out every move? You know, you have to kind of play sensibly. Right. I hope my German accent isn't as bad as the one of Jan Gustafsson, but I might be wrong with that. Plus, I'm not a grandmaster, so not a lot of people will watch this video ever, but still a bit of entertainment for those who have the time. Okay, so his knight is attacked. So as I explained, I'm not going to explain it all again, but just to quick recap, these squares are taken. All squares are taken from the knight. The only square he can go to is f7. And then I take it, he takes, I take. And once again, if he goes to f7, I take it. Yes, he can play rook takes, but then I just play bishop takes. So this looks pretty good. Actually, I'm just thinking. Okay, he played knight f7. I was just thinking about playing knight to c4 possibly, because that would allow for rook takes bishop. But I kind of didn't consider it at all because I was just like, okay, all knight squares are taken, so I just take it off here. And if he plays, I don't know, rook takes bishop, then I just go like king f8 and everything's protected. His light square bishop is way out of time to threaten anything here on the light squares, so like king f8 would have been perfectly possible. So f6, he goes for knight f7, so this is the current position on the board, and I will take this. I mean, it's a good moment to give up the bishop pair just for a tactical advantage here. I mean, he goes for rook takes, and then, as I explained, you can just take the pawn, and next move either king f8 or even exchanging the rooks on c1, and black is absolutely doing super bien, as the Frenchman says, in this position. Okay, so now he goes for knight to h4. Can I play the check? If I play the check, he might play f3. And then what? So I check, he goes f3. I still feel like his pawn would be a little bit more loose on f3 than it is on f2 as of right now. So he goes f3, threatening my bishop, of course, so I retreat it, yeah, h7. And on h7, a bishop would nicely dominate the knight squares. Oops, sorry. Here. So if he goes f3 now, he is even worsening his position. f3, so I go back. And I played this French defense today with e4, e6, and I almost always go e4 and then e5, but by going e6, just because I read a little bit up on it, I'm just kind of like refreshing my own game and trying out new ideas. So this whole plan of queen check worked out pretty nice here. I'm kind of happy with that. Also with b6, nice stabilizing move, and threatening here to come out with the bishop, and he had to deal with that for a couple of moves, and then his position got worse and worse from that point. So I mean, it's not over yet, but you can already see, and now I can just play another check, because he played even f4, so you can see how black is kind of better here. My rook is totally restricting his king. The bishop is also cutting through. So king to f2. Maybe just a normal move here, like king to f8. Just after he moves back with this rook, trying to get the king to f7 and just bringing in the other rook would be perfect. But okay, so he blocks the check with the bishop. Interesting. I think I might be able to create a passed a pawn here by force. I mean, only on king f2 I was gonna play king f8, because now if king f8 he might even take the bishop off, right? So I think if I take his bishop with the rook, I'm on a2. And I don't want to make this video super long, so I'm just going to play what my intuition tells me. So rook takes, because the point is after he takes with the knight, I can come in with my rook, right? I can either give a check right away or pin the knight. So this is a powerful decision right now. So he took the rook. If I check, what happens if I check? Maybe just king g3 if I check here, king g3. But then I have this pin here. Ah, so this is pretty cool. So if I check first, the only square to protect his knight would be g3, but then I have another king to g3, I mean. But then I have another kind of pin on the knight, which I have anyway right now. I would have king to c3, and then I would have another pin, so winning the knight anyway. So now if he protects the knight, I will take his pawn. But I can even play this without giving the check first, because if I play rook c3 here, his knight is pinned anyway. So actually no, I think I'm gonna be annoying. I'm just gonna play the check first, just to create even more tension. And of course he goes to g3. Now I think rook to c3 would be the only move, just to pin his knight. And now I think he has to play rook f1, defending it, but then I take on a2 and my pawn queens, right? So this would be pretty cool if that worked. He can insert a check here, on e8, but just king f7. This rook doesn't really do anything. I mean, for every kind of check, he has to waste two tempi, right? So check, I go f7, and then to check me again, he would go like rook b8, check, I go back, or even I go to g3 and he can take my pawn, and this pawn just queens, so it just resigns here from now on. And I'm worried because he's starting to take a little bit of time. I don't want this video to be too long, as I said. But yeah, here the obvious rook f1. And I think just taking the pawn now. Yeah, let's take the pawn. Come on. Let's not make things even more complicated than they are right now. I can take twice on f3. Okay, king g4 here. Should I take the knight? No, because if I take both pieces here, I think the rook might be in time to stop my pawn from queening, Well, if I don't take the knight, he can just play anything. He can just go back with the knight. Oh, I didn't have so much time. This is interesting now. So if I don't take the knight, so for example, knight to b4, he can just go back with the knight, right? Yeah. Well, I'm still gonna do it because I feel like I'm threatening some kind of knight fork maybe, you know, here. So I think he's gonna play knight e2 now, which would be the best move for white. Or rook to a7. So knight e2, rook a7. Okay, f5 I don't like it at all. Why does he play f5? That's weird. That's a bad move. f5. That cannot possibly be good. Because he's not threatening anything, and then I just go with my knight closer to the queening square, right? Plus I'm threatening this fork on e3. So this would lead to me winning a rook. No, f5 was a clear blunder. No, he should have played. What he should have played was either knight to d2 or rook to a7, stopping the pawn. Now he plays rook a7, but now it's too late, right? Now he plays rook a7, and now it's too late because I have this fork. So this should be resigning. I'm expecting a resignation from white. Not from right, but rather from white. Okay, so knight takes rook. Easy, his knight is attacked, so he can't really take the pawn. If he goes for check, I have f7. Oh, he goes for mate. That's cute. You know, just to show that if I would play any move, he would play rook a8 check. This is mate because the king controls both of the squares. What a cute idea. I like that. But no, I'm gonna sack my bishop here just to avoid mate. Yeah, bishop takes. He can have the bishop. I'm gonna just take the knight. Keep it simple. And then here I can take the pawn with good conscience. And I think now I will go a little bit in my blitz mode, just, you know, making fast moves each time because I feel like it's just so much better here. I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, now it's only 3, but 3 pawns more. I have a knight more. So, I mean, let's finish him off. Let's do it. Let's go back with the knight with check. I didn't even see that check, and is protecting the square, which would attack my rook. So no, this is carnage now. I mean, black just wins so easily here. You know, just knight here, defending the queening square, and he doesn't have mate here. He doesn't have mate. Even if he were to come back to g3, I have this rook check. And if he goes rook check here, of course I have king h7. So this holds in every line. So no. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Well, I can't push the pawn because he just takes, right? So what's the best way to finish him off? Well, I can bring my rook here. Again, if he goes check, I go here. If he goes king here, I take. Oh, now he's kind of coming in aggressively with his pawn. Yeah, maybe rook to b5 wasn't such a great move. It should easily be in time to stop the pawn. Yeah, no, what am I talking about? I mean, rook here, he's practically forced to take, right? Yeah, come on, let's play rook a5. If he takes my rook, I take his, and then my knight should be able to stop his pawn, and if not, I still have my pawn queening, so let's not make things more complex than they are already in chess. I mean, chess is just such a complex game that sometimes you just have to kind of play the obvious stuff. So check. Check here. I might be playing against the queen for a while, but I think with the extra pawn I can still hold it. I kind of underestimated his d5, d6, d7. That was pretty strong, but you know, I can always take the pawn. No, I can always take the rook and then just play for me queening and then winning with the extra material. That should be a possibility. You know, if he goes anywhere legal square now, I have this knight check, picking up an entire rook. Yeah, okay, so now it's over. I mean, officially signing his letter of resignation, because he had to kind of go into a square where he would get forked by the knight. So these two squares, I mean, if here I had this fork, you know, just forking here, and if here on d6 I had what I played with this fork. So here I think I can just take his rook, and he can't queen because my knight is nicely holding that square, so he might play king takes knight and resign afterwards. Yeah, so okay, so now I just take his pawn, and my pawn is fast enough, and now it's just a matter of finishing him off. But that was a nice trick. It took me a while to see that the knight is kind of making him run into forks no matter where he goes. And now, no matter where he goes now, I just queen, because the queen is obviously holding everything, you know, holding him in a nice cage there. So now I will queen and just make this Treppenmatt, as we say in German. So check, and no matter where he goes, there's a checkmate here, so I can pre-move it. And awesome! So this concludes this video. I hope you learned something. I definitely learned a lot. And this was a great game. I hope you enjoyed it, so thanks very much.